Recording in progress.
Membership dues, Hajerby application for permit number 6, and June disbursements. Any other items to pull out of the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll call for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made by Evers, seconded by Baumgartner to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Consent agenda carries. We move down to business item 5A, the approval of change order number 1 for Depew Avenue project.
All right, so Mayor, Council, thanks for having me again for the change order. This is going to be on the Depew Avenue project. Mary Jo, I think, had maybe given a brief update on the change order, so nothing new. This is just the more formal version of that. It does have to go through rural development for their approval as well. It has been reviewed, and we're just waiting on a signature of whom is on vacation this week. So, but it has been approved from rural development, so now it's just bringing it to the council. So I'll just briefly go through the pages that were sent. It's really just stating that there is a change order of timelines, and it's not of the substantial completion or final completion dates. It's just milestone completions that we had outlined in the contract that we had with Jerby Construction or Jerby Contracting. So we had 5 milestones in the project, and we had it broken up based on the phases of the project. So phases 1A, 1B, and phase 2. So we had some delays in phase 1B and part of phase 2 because of a utility not being relocated. It would be Lumen, which was formerly CenturyLink, whichever you want to refer to it as. They had a large fiber duct along the project, which we knew about from the beginning. They were also informed of the location of it and the need for it to be relocated, and was not done in the manner or in the time frame that we needed it to be and that they also agreed upon. It has since been removed, so it's out of our hair now, so to speak. But with that, there were some delays from JERP and the contractors. So they're just asking for 30 days on milestone number 2, 3, and 4. And they're asking for 30 days, and that's basically just to try to recoup the time from anything with Lumen. Again, it won't affect anything for long-term or for the final completion date. It's just they don't have the street done, so they can't put paving in, and that was part of a milestone. So without extending that milestone, then they would be liable for damages. So with that being said, the change order is just saying that we're giving them the extra 30 days. The other thing is that this is a no-cost change order, and the change would not, again, it's highlighted there, would not change anything to the substantial or final completion dates. And it's also something to note that by extending these, we're not going to, the city would not go after JERP contracting for any liquidated damages for the previous milestone date. So for example, milestone 2 had an original completion date of July 31st, and JERP is asking for it to be extended to August 31st. So unless it goes beyond that August 31st, then the city would not be able to go for any liquidated damages on that if they're not meeting those milestones. That would be the same for milestone 3 and milestone 4. Again, most of it stems to not being able to put down that first layer of bituminous because the utilities could not be put in the amount of time that was originally thought. If you go to page 2 of the contract, it just states, again, this is just reiterating that there's not going to be any monetary change into it. So you have the original contract price and the contract price incorporating with the change order, and nothing changes. It all stays the exact same. There's no change in money. Again, it's just for a timeline, but just so that it's in writing for rural development and they understand that the city is okay with it and that the contractor is agreeing to it as well. Pages 3 and 4 are questions that we have to answer for rural development. So I just went through and it's reiterating everything that I have just said in 10 different ways. So I was just asking their questions. So what were the circumstances that led up to this change? And we went through and gave a brief description of Lumen not having the removals or the relocations of the utilities, which then makes it harder for the contractor to put in the utilities that are needed. Why is the change needed? Who initiated it? The contractor did. And then the changes in dates. Again, it's just kind of the same thing, just question after question. If you'd like, I can go through it. If you have any questions on that, I'd be happy to. And then there's also just the letter, I guess page 6, that's not labeled page 6, but attachment A is just the letter from Kurt JERP stating why they were asking for the extension of time. Yeah, so this is just my bringing it to the city council and getting your approval that they are allowed to have that 30 days extension. Again, it's been approved by rural development, so.
It probably isn't necessary, but I went ahead and put in the paid crop progress minutes.
Yes.
Where it's, so that follows the information that Kendra's giving you. But in red, it's a lot easier for you to see just very specifically what the dates were, what the extensions are. I thought it's nice that the percent of work completed now is 46%.
Correct. Yep.
As of June 23rd.
It's a very precise metric.
Yeah, it's honestly it's based on not to go into too much depth of it, but how when we put in quantities for what they've done for work so far, so percent of what we are playing for and percent of what they have done. So it's just the computer does it. I don't have to, so it's nice.
How is it possible that we're giving a month extension, but it won't extend the final completion date?
So the final completion date is going to be in 2024. So we have to let the bituminous sit for a year and go through a winter season to freeze and thaw to make sure that there's compaction and that there's no issues with it before we put on a final layer. So the final layer is going to be in 2024, but they don't need the extension just because nothing will change for having the final or the first lift of the bituminous put on. They've gotten far enough in the underground pipe work, but it just pushes when they could put the asphalt down. So it's not changing the underground work, which is what would, if it had to affect that, then I think that the final completion date would need to be adjusted. But since it doesn't have anything to do with that, it's really just the groundwork. So the contractors were able to work through where Lumen had not relocated, but it took them significantly longer. They could still work through it, but they were still able to do a block when they could have maybe done a block and a half to 2 blocks. So they were able to get work done. And now that it's out of the way, they can move a lot quicker with some of those things. But again, it's really just putting down that first lift of bituminous that they're looking for, that extra extension on.
It's basically because we have to go through winters.
Correct, yep. So because we have to go through a winter, it's not affecting the final one. So that would not change, which I know it's kind of hard to look at it that way when you're asking for a month, but it's not changing anything. But again, because it has to sit through that winter, then it doesn't affect that final.
And it sounds anecdotally that they're gonna keep both of the crews in town too, right?
Yes, so with that, the second crew did go to another town for just a couple of days, I think maybe just 2 or 3 days is all, which kind of was good. And, it was good that he had other work for them to do, but they weren't doing enough work in Olivia for them to stay around. Like they weren't keeping busy all day, every day. So they did go to, I think, Cosmos and finished up a couple things there and then came back. But yeah, so we'll have the first crew will do the pipe work. So they'll go west to east down Depew. And the last I knew, they were between like 5th and 6th Street when I talked to Levi. So they're there. And then once they get so far with that, then the road crew will come back and they'll dig up the road and they'll put the edge drain in and subcut for the sand and gravel that they'll put in under the bituminous. So seems to be working out really well for them. They have one crew that goes through and then the other one that does the finishing. So I think they'll, still meet the deadline for this year to have everything in underground, so.
And knock on wood, they couldn't ask for better.
I know, you hate to say it out loud, you really do. But it's been nice that there hasn't been any rain, but it's been good for construction,
So
so.
rain during the holiday when they wouldn't be working anyway.
Yep, exactly.
Seems like it's been a really professional crew to work with out there. We just really appreciate them. I haven't had any complaints personally, so,
I've observed them a few times on my walks and stuff too. It looks like they're rolling along.
yeah.
Yeah, they are a really good crew that I've worked with so far too, so.
I did make it to the post office today. I called up and with the
sidewalk.
holidays.
Oh, sure.
The postmaster was out delivering herself, but she called me back and I was telling her that I was kind of giving her a heads up because we'll need to close off the front of the post office in order to finish that concrete that needs to go in there. And I wanted her to have time to think about, can you post something to the people that need to come to the post office or the ones that have the boxes? And so she's all ready with a plan.
Okay, great.
And then I think Kurt said he would just drop in and be more specific to then the couple of days that they were
Yes.
actually going to do that. So they were asking if they could potentially do it like on a Friday afternoon, because it needs to set, but it also needs to cure. So they kind of need it like a 2-3 days would be nice. And letting the post office know about that gives them some opportunity to post that, so.
Yeah, so with the concrete, if you're not familiar, so you have to pour the concrete and it can take 7 to 10 days for it to fully cure before you can specifically walk and drive on it, but more so drive on it than walking. But if you walk on it the first couple of days, it can still get your footprints in there and sink down a little bit. So when we were talking about it, Kurt mentioned if they could pour it like on a Friday afternoon and then it could sit, Friday, overnight, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, they could still put a ramp over the top of it, but they wouldn't have to do it on wet, just poured concrete. Less likely to have something sink into it a little bit, but still give access to the post office. So, yeah.
We're all trying to reach out and I know Jerpy's doing a good job, just with some of the residents along, kind of really trying to meet their needs. For instance, more trees were removed that were affecting sidewalks. And it was like, if it's already heaving up a sidewalk, what would be the point in leaving this big old tree? Because you don't want to put a new sidewalk down in that same situation. So we were able to work with Hurley and they were able to come, on short notice. They took 3 of them out.
Yeah, it sounded like there was already one that they were doing that at the progress meeting that had already been discussed, and we just added 2 additional. But yes, it was great that Hurley was able to add those 2 extra trees in that day that they did it, so.
Kind of come out of last minute time frame, and the concern was, of the cost, and it was done reasonably.
Yep.
And they're able to add that to the project instead of a payout in addition to that, so.
Correct.
All working really well.
Yep, so Hurley will just essentially bill Kurt Jerpy, Jerpy Contracting, and then Jerpy will just add it into to the next, I don't believe it was on this payment application, but it'll be on the, I would assume the next one. Did you guys have any questions specifically on the change order? Not to go away from the extra from the progress meeting or anything like that, but.
No, I think you've answered it for me, thank you.
Okay, great. So then it would just be the approval for it, and then there doesn't have to be a formal resolution or anything like that, but just so that everybody would approve it, but.
Okay.
Or whomever would like to approve the extension.
We'll call for a motion to approve the extension.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Motion's been made by Eber, seconded by Baumgartner to approve the change order. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Thank you,
Do guys have
Kendra.
questions on anything on the project? I'm sure most of you have heard by now that Justin is still out for the time being, so please just reach out to me if you have any questions on anything project related or city related in general.
Thank you, Kendra.
Is he doing better?
Yes, so he's home. I don't really have much of a change from last time, but he's home. He will be in a neck brace and back brace for, I would assume, the next 3, 4, 5 months. They are going to be seeing a specialist just to get another opinion to make sure that everything is healing properly and that he wouldn't have to hopefully does not need another surgery to correct his break. So, but it sounds like everything's going well. Said he's having a hard time reading, so we got him an Audible subscription so he can listen to books. So I would imagine, your arms get tired and then you can't read. So we're hoping that helps pass some of the time that I'm sure he's going crazy. Yes, but yes, I think everything seems to be going well.
Good.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Thanks.
Kendra.
Happy 4th.
Happy for it.
Okay, business item B, the PUC recommendation, MMPA agreement.
Matt, you probably know a little bit more about this than I do.
Well, actually, I was surprised to see it because I thought we had decided that we were going to take time to understand what the opportunity was with Missouri River.
Oh, she
So,
just,
Joe had shared with me that there has to be a motion to not go with this agreement for the time being. At her meeting at MMPA. I assumed she would have been in contact with you, but she wasn't.
I didn't hear anything.
Okay.
We have to make one now?
No,
To
but
reject an agreement.
for right now, and I think that it can be, I would say that it can be pushed off to a later meeting, but it's just a matter of you guys looking at what the agreement is. We put it in there for you guys just to look it over and just know that the PUC is requesting to not.
Recommending to not.
Yeah, and that does not mean that the PUC is saying we are done with MMPA. That's not at all the case here. We just want to understand what our options are.
Continue the discovery
Yeah,
process.
So we don't need to take any action on this.
no.
Well, the
Sounds like
MMPA wants us to.
it's good for them, but we don't have to.
We don't have
We
to.
do not
We're under
have to.
contract for 24
Yeah.
more, or for
So.
17 more years. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
they
we
can
don't-
wait.
You
Yeah.
do not have to, but it was just, we wanted to share the agreement with you so you could see it and what they were asking.
To the table.
second.
Motion to table's been made by Paternoss, seconded by Baumgartner. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed? Table. All right, Memorial Park camping discussion. We've kind of been made aware of some situations going on in Memorial Park that came about and talking about some ways to mitigate those situations moving forward. I don't know, do you have an update for us?
I do, I told them I would talk.
Oh.
Okay.
because he couldn't be here. So me and Chief Krumhauer have been looking at, the rules and regulations out at Memorial Park because they have been having a lot of issues with people not following the protocol of what we have requested for campers out there. So what we sort of want is just your guys' sort of okay to start revamping the rules and regulations that we have for camping and for the parks and come up with some new strategies or some new rules to sort of go with the issues that have all of a sudden come up. And that we have your guys is okay to move forward with changes and then come to you as we get those together.
Yeah, I
What's
think
the biggest issue?
Yeah, go ahead.
We are having a
permanent residency.
yes, permanent
Homeless people
residency.
living out there, right?
And so it's becoming an issue. They're supposed to come in to fill out an application and then they're supposed to pay daily. So one of the things we want to implement is that when they come in for that application, we give them, right now they don't have to have a permit. They just come fill it out, they pay, they don't have to have anything on their vehicle or anything. Right now, one of the first things we want to start doing is print off a permit. So when the cops drive through, they have that visual to say, okay, they checked in.
Yep, they belong here.
Yeah. So, the other thing is we charge a little bit more for if you're using electricity. And some people are taking advantage of that and saying they're not using electricity. And they are, and just different, just sort of just to iron out some of the things so it's more clear to the people who are camping what the rules are.
Yep.
Yeah, as time goes on and people behave in certain ways, we have to adjust our policies to stay up to date.
We're really gonna look at banning alcohol,
Yeah.
tobacco, and marijuana and vaping. Well, not marijuana.
I think it's already written in.
Is it?
It's
Into
not.
all of our parks?
I'm not sure if that is correct or if he's just, if he's thinking about it. These are not like set in stone. That's why it was just ideas that he had and that's why we wanted to bring it up and say, hey, and maybe if we take care of some of the other issues, those things being out there won't be an issue. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
It seems a little draconian to go that far.
Yeah.
That stuck out to me right away too.
I think the main issue relates to the overstaying and not paying.
Yeah.
Well, sure.
So I think what you're saying is looking for council's approval.
Yeah, I think,
Let staff start
Right.
Yeah.
some proposed ordinance.
Definitely, yeah, I'd take a look at like even Renville County and Kennywag County parks and what they do as far as camping regulations.
that's a good call. Cool. All right. Library, translucent skylight roof.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a good day, Kendra.
So this company called and
Okay.
wanted to do an inspection of the fiberglass atrium area and saw that there were some breakdowns and point out on this proposal what should be done. I just had a conversation with the mayor about implementing some maintenance on some of our roofs and other areas, where someone in the field comes and does an annual inspection so that our properties aren't, the maintenance is falling aside and there are issues. So, but at the very end, I remembered, I reached out to Jake at the library. He looked in his archives, as he said. This isn't the original company that put on that fiberglass. So, I didn't get a chance, but, do have the name of that place. And we want to, either get a second quote or find out, have them come take a look also.
Can we get 3 quotes?
I can try. And get
So, as a little aside to this, they also approached the county.
Oh.
So I'm thinking we might be in their area of people to look at.
Oh, that's possible.
They recommended to us that we talk to our insurance company about possible hail damage to them. Apparently, the hail degraded it or something, so.
It does seem, it does say on this report that it shows hail damage, so.
Well, again, we would take this information and run it through our local insurance agent, who would probably forward it to the league and have someone come out and take a look. That's what we did on the roofing. So this just gives you a head up of something that we're working on. No action needed on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have the first reading of ordinance 2023-4, amending section code 32.20D, smart team.
Can you speak to this a little bit? So the fire chief wanted to have, fire chief is requesting these updates. I think the main reason for that is trying to expand who can qualify to be on the smart team. Because I think previously, right now, it says has to be firefighter 1 or 2 certifications, and he's trying to, looks like he's trying to make it so that it can be anyone in good standing with any emergency service organization. So it could be ambulance, medical response unit, law enforcement, fire, specialized rescue entities. So he's trying to make it
More inclusive.
broad. And then it was just minor clarification on chain of command.
Sounds smart to me.
Good one.
Okay,
And that's the first reading.
sounds good. All right, we have we have a second reading, ordinance 2023-03, amending Title 9, Section 92 on weeds.
Marissa was here at the last meeting and tried to update you and answer questions on this. So this is just the second reading, unless you have some further questions.
I don't.
Okay. All right, we'll move down to the new discussion item 5G, the approval of the lawnmower purchase for Public Works. We do have,
Sorry to interrupt. Can we get a motion? We can approve that ordinance 2023 council motion.
oh, all right.
A motion to approve the ordinance 2023-03.
Second.
Motion's been made by Baumgartner, seconded by Paternoss to approve 2023-03 ordinance, amending Title 9, Section 92, weeds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Now we'll talk about the lawnmowers here.
If we could have you take a look at this agenda item request. Craig Magus walks this through. So his intent is to purchase 2 new lawnmowers, and one would be replacing a mower and the John Deere 1550 with a 72-inch deck. That would be replacing then with a DJ and new DJ 0 turn with a mid-mount deck. And the Kibble equipment quote, in essence, there's a money available in the CIP for these mowers. But secondly, by trading in one of these mowers, you're gonna save $14,000 in a comparable mower. And that's due to Craig's experience in mowers that he's worked with for so many years.
Which is great. My primary issue is that I have a really hard time understanding, like, I would like to see here's the mower we're getting rid of, here's the trade-in price, here's the other mower we're getting rid of, here's the new one we're gonna have. Just make it more clear, because what confused me terribly was looking at all these selling quotes, and I couldn't tell how much money we were spending or not spending, because there's $67,000 here and 15,900 here, and that didn't match up with anything I was seeing on his request for agenda. So I was having a hard time following along, which is why I wanted to pull it out and talk about it, and maybe ask for greater clarity next time there's, like, I should be able to understand it quickly, just by looking at it on the front page.
Jody, he is available. He told me he would be.
Did you call him?
Yeah.
I think,
Oh,
Well, as opposed to,
Well, if he
Putting it on
wants
for
to do it on his own time, I'm
2 more
okay
weeks.
approving it, I don't know.
What is the
I think
total
Matt's
amount?
Not okay approving it, I think he's just confused.
Yeah, what is the total amount we're gonna spend?
so.
it said 42.9 on the one that doesn't have any scribbling on it. It matches his agenda request item.
That's right.
You know,
Okay.
I understand
Okay.
what you're saying,
Yep.
because like there's those notes on the other ones, they're like, hey, 23,000 for that, and that doesn't match any of the numbers up here. I
Yeah.
totally get that. I guess I made the assumption that I went with the two that matched and didn't have scribbling all over them, so.
Yeah, the,
It looked like he was doing some wheeling and dealing back and forth to get a
Yeah,
little better deal.
which is all fine and good. I just didn't understand it, couldn't understand it.
the hog quotes are not included on his request because he didn't, that's not what he's suggesting moving forward with. So basically, we're just paying attention to the kibble quotes.
Well, and I was gonna say, I think if I was to guess, judging by the paperwork that he included here, he was doing his best to show that he went out and got 2 bids.
Okay,
That's what I took it as.
okay.
Yeah, cause one's from John Deere and one's from.
Well, it's, hog and kill or something.
Correct.
Okay, so I guess my request would be that Craig just does a little better organization laying it out.
okay. All right, and honestly, he can get a hold of you and you maybe walk you through it, just so that you're comfortable with it too.
Okay, that'd be fine.
Motion to approve lawnmower purchase.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made by Paternoss, seconded by Evers to approve the lawnmowers in item 5G. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Lawnmowers have been approved for purchase. We didn't have any addenda additions or new business. Anything else come up? Move down to committee reports. We did get a nice pool board update.
Yeah, so, let me get down to the report. Tracy gave a little update in writing, more or less, obviously we didn't open July 1st. We've had a hard time getting everything put together. We had a meeting scheduled for last Thursday that we kind of called out at the last minute because me and Mr. Menton had a discussion on what was on the agenda, and there wasn't anything that actually required action. It was more just an informational update, saying stuff that everyone already knew for the most part. So, and I appreciate Tracy wanting to keep everyone up to date and everyone on the same page. We just felt like it wasn't really necessary to hold a meeting for just informational stuff and to approve prior meeting minutes. So we asked her to push that back into July or August until we have something actionable we can do something about. Namely, we're looking at getting lost revenue coverage through the insurance company or lost revenue replacement. Basically just so we can kind of do I think the idea is to do a retention payment to our part-time people, since eventually, when we do get the pool fixed, it'd be really great to have workers that actually work there yet.
That's a good point.
Just trying to move forward with hopefully that being successful whenever we do get everything put together. Right now, the optimistic guess is
Recording stopped.